You have a history of
confinement with no food and no light.
Spengler, I want a confinement stream from you, okay?
And after that, I'm going to file against pretrial confinement.
Wait a minute. Speak of the confinement city.
When her confinement is due, send to Moscow for a doctor.
The worst convicts, those deep down in solitary
Confinement was a real education, a real
fear of confinement.
Charles Dickens once said that solitary confinement was inhumane.
You'll be held in solitary confinement for a period of 2 years.
You have a history! You have a history of confinement. We brought you to Richmond because you have a history of fits.
Random beatings, solitary confinement with no food and no light. Say that took place.
The flowers are still standing. Okay, on my go, single. Spengler, I want a confinement stream from you, okay? Go! Okay, hold him up there. He's gonna move. Hold him up.
Motion in limine seeking to obtain an evidentiary ruling in advance. And after that, I'm going to file against pretrial confinement. And you're going to spend the next 3 months going blind on paperwork.
As agile as my fingers.
The confinement. Speak of the confinement city.
It was the intention of my brother to permit the flies.
Your wife? Well, go on, speak.
When her confinement is due, send to Moscow for a doctor.
A doctor?
I know that if nature won't do its work.
The worst convicts, those deep down in solitary confinement, and the most ordinary file clerks.
Aspects of prison life. Confinement was a real education, a real
Fear of confinement. You have to find a way of stopping it. What would the Dauntless do?
Charles Dickens once said that solitary confinement was inhumane. 7 months later, the Supreme Court agreed.
That you be conveyed to San Quentin prison, where you'll be held in solitary confinement for a period of 2 years, until October the 2nd, 19...
Your 5 years in solitary confinement are at an end. You've paid part of your debt to France.
Over the course of her confinement, I've come to the conclusion, with a reasonable degree of medical certainty, that Emily Taylor...
All of you will undergo 1 month in solitary confinement. Dismiss. You, Colonel Richmond, will remain.
And the solitary confinement is clever.
Well, that's how winners play.
Ты в питерских крестах сидел? Дюжина ходов в ШИЗО. Меня звали Пень за упрямство.
Our souls, our skin and blood, the iron bars of confinement. But fear not.
He was locked up for 1.5 years without charge and spent 17 months in solitary confinement. When he was finally released,
responsibility for state crimes to 10 years of confinement, with the first 3 years to be served in prison.
And Joe was sent to another prison. He's in solitary confinement somewhere. We've had no news of him since then.
Very vividly put, sweetly honest.
You know what it's like in solitary confinement?
No, I can't say that I do. I went to...
Remember the judge's sentence? And kept in solitary confinement until you are hanged by the neck.
Yeah, but that ain't what the judge meant.
That's what the attorney...
Because I'll tell you one more goddamn thing. I'm a man cannot stand confinement. So if you don't start pressing buttons and get me out of here, I'll tell you all...
...of violence toward a superior officer. He will be placed in confinement until a court-martial can be convened. In Jamaica, I expect. And
marked in secret.
What does that mean?
Afraid it means solitary confinement. There's no way we can reach him. Not now.
Look here, I warn you, the first one that you squeak at him, I'm going to put in solitary confinement. I'm going to ask this young man a few questions, and I want absolute plan. Now, young man.
A plan? I have a plan.
Cease your yammering and relieve us from this irksome confinement.
Yeah, I'll have to agree with the walking thesaurus on that one.